From Here to Eternity is a 1953 American drama romance war film directed by Fred Zinnemann and written by Daniel Taradash, based on the 1951 novel of the same name by James Jones. The picture deals with the tribulations of three U.S. Army soldiers, played by Burt Lancaster, Montgomery Clift, and Frank Sinatra, stationed on Hawaii in the months leading up to the attack on Pearl Harbor. Deborah, Kerr, and Donna Reed portray the women in their lives, and the supporting cast includes Ernest Borgnine, Philip Ober, Jack Warden, Mickey Shaughnessy, Claude Akins, and George Reeves. The film won 8 Academy Awards out of 13 nominations, including awards for Best Picture, Best Director, Fred Zinnemann, Adapted Screenplay, Supporting Actor, Frank Sinatra, and Supporting Actress, Donna Reed. The film's title originates from Rudyard Kipling's 1892 poem Gentlemen Rankers, about soldiers of the British Empire who had lost their way and were damned from here to eternity. In 2002, From Here to Eternity was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Plot. In 1941, bugler and career soldier Private Robert E. Lee Pruitt transfers from Fort Shafter to a rifle company at Schofield Barracks on the island of Oahu. Because Pruitt was also a boxer, Captain Dana Dynamite Holmes wants him on his regimental team. Pruitt explains that he stopped fighting because he injured someone. Consequently, Holmes makes Pruitt's life miserable and ultimately orders First Sergeant Milton Warden to prepare a court-martial. Warden suggests doubling Pruitt's company punishment as an alternative. Pruitt is hazed by the other NCOs and is supported only by his close friend, Private Angelo Maggio. Pruitt and Maggio join a social club where Pruitt becomes attracted to Lorene. Pruitt confides with her about blinding a man, and that is why he refuses to fight. At the club, Maggio gets into an argument with Stockade Sergeant Fatso Judson. Later, at a local bar, Judson provokes Maggio and the two nearly come to blows before Warden intervenes. Despite being warned, Warden risks prison when he starts seeing Holmes' wife Karen. Her marriage to Holmes is fraught with infidelity, exacerbated after the stillbirth of a child and Karen's subsequent infertility. Karen encourages Warden to become an officer, which would enable her to divorce Holmes and marry him. Maggio is sentenced to the stockade after walking off guard duty and getting drunk, subjecting him to Judson's unqualified and unauthorized wrath. Pruitt discovers Lorene's name is really Alma and her goal is to make enough money at the club to go back to the mainland. Pruitt tells her his career is in the military, and the two wonder whether they have a future together. A sergeant named Gulovich, a member of Holmes' boxing team, picks a fight with Pruitt. The fight is reported to Holmes, who observes without intervening. Holmes is about to punish Pruitt again, but when he is told that Gulovich started the fight, Holmes lets him off the hook. The regimental commander observes Holmes' conduct and, after an investigation, orders his resignation in lieu of a court-martial. Holmes' replacement, Captain Ross, reprimands the other NCOs, demotes Gulovich to private, and affirms that there will be no more promotions through boxing. Maggio escapes from the stockade after a brutal beating from Judson and dies in Pruitt's arms. Seeking revenge, Pruitt waits for Judson to come out of a bar and challenges Judson into a back alley where the two fight with knives. Pruitt kills Judson, but not before being badly wounded himself. Pruitt goes AWOL and stays with Lorene while Warden covers for his absence. Karen tells Warden that Holmes' resignation is forcing them back to the mainland, but Warden reveals he has no interest in becoming an officer, effectively ending their relationship. Warden promises her that they will meet somewhere someday. Early Sunday morning, the Japanese attack Pearl Harbor. Warden keeps his head in the chaos. He commands his men to remain in their barracks. He states that it's too dangerous to go outside. The Japanese start to bomb the barracks. The soldiers decide to fight the Japanese. The soldiers get excited after one shoots down a Japanese plane. That night, Pruitt attempts to rejoin his company, despite Lorene's pleas for him to stay with her, but MPs shoot him dead when he refuses to halt. Warden identifies him as a good soldier, but a hard head. Days later, Karen and Lorene coincidentally stand next to each other on a ship going to the mainland. Karen tosses her lace into the sea, wondering if she will ever return to Hawaii. Lorene tells Karen she is not returning and that her fiancé, whom she identifies as Pruitt, was a bomber pilot who died heroically during the Pearl Harbor attack and was awarded a Silver Star, none of which is true. Karen recognizes the name, but says nothing. Production. Hollywood legend has it that Frank Sinatra got the role in the film by means of his alleged mafia connections, and it was the basis for a similar subplot in The Godfather. However, that has been dismissed on several occasions by the cast and crew of the film. Director Fred Zinnemann commented that the legend about a horse's head having been cut off is pure invention, a poetic license on the part of Mario Puzo, who wrote The Godfather. One explanation of Sinatra's casting is that his then-wife Ava Gardner persuaded studio head Harry Cohn's wife to use her influence with him. This version is related by Kitty Kelly in her Sinatra biography. Joan Crawford and Gladys George were offered roles, but George lost her role when the director decided he wanted to cast the female roles against type, and Crawford's demands to be filmed by her own cameraman led the studio to take a chance on Deborah Kerr, also playing against type. Kim Stanley heavily campaigned for the role of Lorene, which later garnered an Academy Award for Donna Reed. The on-screen chemistry between Lancaster and Kerr may have spilled off-screen. It was alleged that the stars became involved romantically during filming. The songs Re-Enlistment Blues and From Here to Eternity were written by Robert Wells and Fred Carter. The film's trailer. Several of the novel's controversial plot points were changed or eliminated for the film to satisfy the Production Code Office and the U.S. Army. Army cooperation was necessary in order to shoot on location at Schofield Barracks, use training aircraft, and obtain military footage of Pearl Harbor for use in the film, as well as for cost reasons. According to screenwriter Daniel Taradash, both the Code Office and the Army were impressed by his script, which reduced the number of censorship problems. In the novel, Lorene was a prostitute at a brothel, but in the film, she is a hostess at a private social club. Karen's hysterectomy in the novel was caused by the unfaithful Holmes transmitting gonorrhea to her, but in the film, her hysterectomy resulted from a miscarriage, thus avoiding the topic of venereal disease. The changes were made to meet Code Office standards. In the novel, several of the enlisted men fraternize with homosexuals, and one soldier commits suicide as a result, but homosexuality is not mentioned or directly explored in the film. Again, the change was made to satisfy the Code Office. However, J. E. Smith has written that the film's treatment of Judson's behavior towards Maggio has all the indications of sexual abuse, and therefore reintroduces the fear of homosexuality in the 1930s military that the rest of the script had to repress for obvious reasons of censorship. In the novel, Captain Holmes ironically receives his desired promotion, and is transferred out of the company. In the film, Holmes is forced to resign from the Army under threat of court-martial for his ill treatment of Pruitt. The Army insisted on this change, which the filmmakers reluctantly made. Director Zinnemann later complained that the scene where Holmes is reprimanded was the worst moment in the film, resembling a recruiting short, and wrote, "It makes me sick every time I see it." In the novel, Judson's systematic abuse of Maggio and other prisoners, including Pruitt himself at one point, is portrayed in detail. However, in the film, Maggio's abuse happens off-screen and is told only verbally to Pruitt, who remains free. The Army required that the abuse of Maggio not be shown, and that Judson's behavior towards Maggio be portrayed as a sadistic anomaly, and not as the result of Army policy, as depicted in Jones's book. The filmmakers agreed, seeing these changes as improvements. Maggio, who survives and is discharged in the novel, dies in the film, having been combined with two other prisoner characters from the novel, one of whom is killed by Judson in the novel, to add drama and make Maggio a stronger, more tragic figure. The Army was further pacified by the filmmaker's inclusion of a line suggesting that Maggio's death was partially caused by his falling off a truck during a prison break, rather than solely by Judson's beatings.